Hello and good morning. So in today's video I've been asked a couple of times to share my settings, so I thought it'd just be quicker to go through it with you rather than send them to you privately. I'll just upload a video and then you can go through it. So I'll go through it really slowly. I have shared settings before. Obviously we've had some changes, and so we'll start off. Automations I have on custom. Weapon auto pickup on. The other starter weapon pickup is on. I don't really prioritize the way that it picks things up. Um, Loot auto pickup is on. This is an important setting, the sprint settings. So if you're a touch player and you're manually pressing your tac sprint button, I would personally suggest having it on automatic. That way you don't have to keep pressing the tac sprint button, and that will really help you. I don't know how many fingers you play with, but as a four finger player I need my fingers to be focused on jump, slide, aim on my right finger. My left finger does my shooting, my left thumb does my character movement on the joystick, and my right thumb does the aiming. So I don't want to have too many things going on for my left finger, and that's where I used to use the tac sprint button. But I'd find there'd be a little delay against like really sweaty players. There'd be a little delay between me pressing a tac sprint button and then being able to shoot. So I've now, in this new integration of Black Ops 6, if you go into the sprint assist settings, you can use automatic tac sprint. What that will do is obviously automate your tactical sprinting. I play on automatic tac sprint on PC, so it's not something that I need to get used to. As soon as you start to run, you're going to be tac sprinting. It will help you have more fluid movement and just maintain momentum. Another important thing is the sprint assist delay. You can put it on 0, but I would probably suggest not. On PC I run it on 0, but on touchscreen, if you're using a controller I would have it on 0, but if you're a touchscreen player I would put that on like 50. The reason being is the touchscreen is very sensitive to any movement, and while you're shooting you'll start to strafe to the side too much if you have that on 0. So I've noticed that my aiming is much more accurate and there's no real delay anyway on the touch screen, where on a controller there's a little bit more delay in engaging the running sideways, where touchscreen it's very reactive. So I'd put that on 50. You can try it on 0 if you want, but personally I just found the shots were more accurate and you were just more in control of your character with having that on 50. You want to have the sprint assist sideways and assist backwards on. And obviously if you're on controller you can come in here and do that as well. So that's the sprint assist settings. What else have we got? Manual assists, I have this all off because I don't want to be auto mantling stuff at all, so I have all that stuff off, and it's the same if I play on PC. It's nothing worse than mid gunfight you end up mantling something and die. Parachute behavior, I have that on manual. Stare buttons, you can see I have everything else off. Movement is set to digital. I don't know if that's glitched. I used to play on analog, but I now play on digital and I like everything how it is. I think if you have it on, it's like on always sprint, it's bugged and it will go back to digital, but you don't need it on always sprint if you're using the tactical sprint anyway. An analog would be if you're using a controller, because that's the kind of input a controller is, and obviously touchscreen is more digital. So that's my understanding of it and the two differences. Personally I prefer digital. Slide end stance, you want to have that as stand. Auto forward stance is continue. I don't actually use the auto forward, but I've got it on that. Camera rotation mode, this is going to be personal preference. Some people will prefer accelerated. I personally prefer fixed. If I play on PC with a controller, I used accelerated. It's known as dynamic, but on because touchscreens like a mouse input. You don't like people on mouse and keyboard. They don't like acceleration on touch. On mouse input, sorry, it's just raw input, and I prefer that on touchscreen. So that's my personal choice. If you want to use accelerated, that's up to you. These other things, again, I don't know how many fingers you use, but ADS camera rotation, if you have a dedicated finger for aiming that isn't using the shoot button and dragging it, you want to have these ADS rotation buttons off, fire camera rotation off. But if you aren't using a dedicated finger, you obviously need to keep them on. So my throwback camera rotation, I keep that off. Corner slice, now I'm going to turn this off because there's no real benefit to it. It's for very slow play that you'll corner slice, but there was a short that I uploaded yesterday, and you will see it's get cooked, I think is the title of the short. You'll see I approach a corner and I'm trying to shoot a guy that's finished on the floor, and as I approach the corner it messes with my aim twice because there was two corners, and obviously when you corner slice it will slightly move your aim off, and that can mess you up. So I'm going to keep that off now. Camera rolls is on. Weapon mount exit delay is on short. I use manual fire. Auto behavior doesn't really matter because I'm not using it. Again, this next setting doesn't matter. Single shot fire behavior, I have that on tap. So if you're using the ADS to shoot, then you might want to have that tap on release. But because I don't, I use my fingers manually. I'd want to, as soon as I press my shoot button, I want it to shoot. So I don't want it to be on release. I just want to be able to tap my screen very fast and that will shoot, especially with snipers. Aim down sights when firing, I have that off because, like I say, I manually do that. ADS fire button position default. Aim down sight behavior, that is on toggle. Because I have it on toggle because I need to have that finger free if I want a jump shot or drop shot. So it's easier than rather than me having to hold down the aim and the shoot button, I can just tap my aim button and then that finger is free to jump or drop shot in a fight, and then I'll just obviously unselect aiming if I want to go back to hip firing or whatever. My focus behavior is on hold. I really don't ever use the focus button. Auto melee, I have that off because that can mess you up in some gunfights. I've had a gunfight where someone ran up close range and then you start to melee them, and if it's a decent player, they've probably like slid next to you, so they're only next to you momentarily. You stop shooting and then they'll slide around you and kill you. So I've always kept that off because it was always problematic against good people. Sprinting door bash is on. Force reload is on sprint only. Forced equipping armor, I have that off. I use the equip all armor plates, it's just faster. Aim assist is on. Sometimes I do turn it off. This current integration, I haven't bothered turning it off. I have the jump with the squad on. I think this is pretty much getting us in. Like I say, I don't use controller, so I can't really help you how you want to set up your controller. It's going to be pretty much the same. On PC I have it on tap to slide, prioritize, reload, and things like that. Outlines are both off. And then if we go over to the interface, I have that always on because I'm using my hip fire button to shoot. I don't use the shoot to ADS button, that's hidden off my screen. And just an important note, if you're having it where joystick is um, your joystick is snapping, because I'll go into it as we go down and it'll make more sense. So my left fire button is always on. Fire buttons while auto fire, I have that all off. Integrated ammo showing next to the weapon. Hit markers on. Hit marker size is normal. Transparency, I have it on 0.4. Auto sprint lock, I've got it on floating. Doesn't really matter because I don't actually ever use it. Merge stance, I have mine merged. If you have it on split, you're just going to have a separate button to drop shot, and I just don't see real any benefit. If you want to drop shot, you just hold your crouch button. There's probably a tiny bit of delay in the difference, but nothing that is worth having an extra button for my finger to press. My HUD's already very busy, so I don't bother having it like that. Fixed joystick. Now, I have mine on snap, and the reason being is I've noticed if you have it on fixed, there'll be times where even if you keep your thumb on that stick, sometimes it will just miss your input and it'll make it so you can't move in a gunfight, and then you have to take your finger off and put it back on to the joystick to move. So I have it on snap, and that works really well. But there does seem to be an issue this season with the joystick. If you have it on snapped and you're using the ADS to shoot button, sometimes your joystick will snap to the ADS finger that you're shooting with, and that can be a problem because it will make you start to walk unwillingly during a gunfight. So I use the hip fire button as my shoot button, and that has stopped that problem. So that's just something to be aware of. But personally, I think snap joystick is the best. And then horizontal vertical aim is all on normal, and then that is all the settings for that. And then this is all personal preference. Obviously I'm not using a controller, so my aiming in Black Ops 6, the sensitivity I've actually put down. I used to play on 65 and 60, but I've now pulled that down because the sensitivity feels much faster. So I play on 50 and 55 with a global ADS sensitivity multiplier of 1. My ADS low zoom is 80. Sometimes I'll have it at 1, but recently the game's been running very fast and smooth, and the sensitivities has felt really good, so there's been little delay. So I've actually pulled that down a little bit to help with accuracy. So I'm playing on a 0.8. You can try a 0.9, a 1.0. It's going to all be dependent on what feels good for you. ADS multiplier for 2 to 3 times scopes is 1.5. My sniper sensitivity I'm still dialing in. I used to play on like 5, but that's way too fast in this integration. I did have it on 3 the other day, but I just wanted to bring it down a little bit to see if that helps me be more accurate. But I did notice in a game the other day that it felt just a little bit too slow, so I'm going to bump these up to 280. So like I say, all this stuff is personal preference. Every device is different as well. Like your screen on, say if you're on an Android, it might not be as sensitive as my screen, and it's the same across 2 different iPhones. I'll have slightly different sensitivities across the iPhones that I have, because they have slightly different like amounts of sensitivity on that specific phone. The ADS sensitivity transition, I have it on gradual, so there's no really big leap in between my camera sensitivity and then my aiming sensitivity. You don't want it to be too jumpy, so I have mine on gradual. You can have it on instant. I just find gradual just slowly eases. Obviously it's a very quick thing to happen. It's not like it's going to take a long time to gradually change sensitivity. It just means it's not an abrupt change, so you're going to be much smoother in the change of sensitivity when you start to aim. So that's my reason for that. HUD settings we can go into first. things like if you click onto your grenades and then you go into, sorry, not there, into variants. I have mine on direct throw, so that means you don't have to press twice. You will just press on the grenade or on the stun, and when you release, that'll throw it. So that is just one thing. I don't think I've altered anything else on my HUD outside of just moving it in place. Obviously, this is another one on variants. I have my weapon slot like minimalist, so I just tap to switch weapon. They're the only two changes on the HUD. And I think that has covered everything. Like I say, overview, we've gone across everything. There's no other real settings that I use outside of that. So that is going to conclude the video. I hope that is helpful. But I would really suggest using sprint assist or attack sprint if you are a touchscreen player. That's just going to free up your hands from having to do that process of constantly pressing attack sprint when you can just have it automated anyway, and it just makes things much more fluid. But yeah, peace out, and I'll catch you in the next one.